Hi guys! Today I'm gonna do a video that I have, this kind of video I haven't done in a very long time, and that is a book review. And it's gonna be a book review of the Silmarillion, the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, and the Return of the King. And I recently finished these, and right now I'm reading The Lies of Loch, and it's kind of Ocean's 11 meets The Name of the Wind, I think, at least. So I'm like 70 pages in, and it's great so far. So yeah, let's start with the book reviews. I will start with the Silmarillion. This book, the Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. And this book is, I do recommend this to people who have seen the extended versions of The Lord of the Rings and read the books and reread the books and are hungry for more, so to speak. So don't read this book the first Tolkien book you read. No, you have to be engaged in the story and want to know what happens. So, because this, I would say, it's a mix of the Bible and a history book. So, it's like a history book of Middle-earth, and I think it's really good. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and yeah, you need to want to read this book, otherwise you will never get through it. If you have only seen the movies of The Lord of the Rings and oh, I want to read some more, then sure, you can, but if you're not familiar with J.R.R. Tolkien's writing style, then I think you will have a tough time getting through this, I'm just saying. And let's get on to the story. This is about the history before the Ring story, before these books. And it starts out as any word starts out, with the creation of it, and it's mind-blowing. It's like the gods are singing, and with their song they creating the world, and it's very beautiful, and you get to know all the gods, and it's like it's a lot of gods, and you get to know all their names and what their powers are and what they're responsible of. And one god in particular I like is Yamanna, and she is the god of the plants and the growing things, and I really like her. And one god as well is the Queen of the Valar, which is Elbereth. And you may remember her from a song in the Lord of the Rings movies, and she is the queen of all the gods, and she is responsible for the night sky and the stars and the moon and stuff like that. And then we have Melkor, which is, he is the bad guy in this book. Well, we have a lot of bad guys, but he is the main big one, and you may know him by another name, which is Morgoth, which is a name he got when he stopped being one of the Valar, so he just ran off and became bad, basically. And his assistant is Sauron. Sauron is one of the Maya, minor gods, and yeah, we know Sauron as the main bad guy, you know, the evilest, most horrible person in Middle-earth, and here he's just Morgoth's assistant, basically. So that would probably give you an idea of how bad Morgoth really is. And then in this book, a standout character we have is Fëanor. I am not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's hard, it's Elvish names, and sure, I've studied Elvish, but you never know. And Fëanor is an elf. He's one... When I was explaining the plot with Fëanor and Vol to my sister, she was like, what? Because it's basically, he was so awesome. His soul was so awesome and passionate, so his mother, her life force kind of passed to him, so she died after giving birth to him. And he was the creator of the Silmarils. And they were the cause of greed in this world. So he's responsible for that. And Fëanor is a great elf, but he turns wicked. And he becomes obsessed with the Silmarils, and that eventually is his destruction. And then also we have in this book the beautiful story of Beren and Luthien. I love that story. It's like foreshadowing for Aragorn and Arwen's story, because Beren is a mortal and Luthien is an elf, and they are very awesome together. And my hand is cramping up, so I have to twist aside. So, but yes, and I really like this book. It has a lot of little stories in it, so it's not an over, you know, it's not a plot that's... It's like a history book, basically. It has little stories in it, and you get to know all characters. And I have reread this book this time, and one thing I didn't notice, and it's crazy, but I didn't notice that Luthien's mom was a Maya. And I was like, what? So that maybe explains why she's so freaking beautiful. And then we have a lot of family trees in this book as well, and it's fun to see. So I recommend this book to Tolkien lovers, and yeah, if you think you can do it, do the task of reading this book, I recommend it to you. And this cover, I'm just saying, I love it, really. So yeah, thanks. Now let's move on to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, and the Return of the King. Okay, let's start with this book. This book, this is my favorite of the three, and it starts in the Shire with Bilbo and his going away party. Well, it's not a going away party, it's his birthday party, and he has planned to run off because he's tired of the Shire and he wants to go on adventures again. And at this point he has had the ring for quite some time, and Gandalf's starting to notice. So he gets a little suspicious, and basically they found out that the ring is the evil ring of the evilness of Middle-earth, and Mordor, so they prepare to go on a quest to destroy the ring. And this is kind of the build-up to the Fellowship and the Fellowship's breaking, and it's really good, and I really like the characters. I love Frodo, I love Sam. Sam is my favorite character. He's my favorite character, and then I also love Aragorn. I do love him. He's an amazing character, and I really love Gimli as well. I really liked him this time around when I was reading it this time, so it's always good to know, to discover new likings of this book. And I love the world. Tolkien is a very good describer of things, because he knows exactly what he's talking about, and that really comes through, and that makes it feel like this is a real world. So yes. Next book we have The Two Towers, and this book, it's pretty annoying the first time you read it when you don't know what's going on, because at first in the Fellowship of the Ring we follow the Fellowship, but in this book half the book is Aragorn's story, and the second half is Frodo and Sam. And both stories are great, but it's really weird to write it like that, because then you first get to read like the whole book from a character's perspective, and then you get from the beginning again. So what I did this time, I read it, I had a bookmark in the middle, and then I read each and every chapter, so I was finished with both storylines at the same time, and that was really refreshing. But I would not recommend doing that for the third book, and I will tell you why soon. But the book is favorite. I think if it weren't for the split in the middle, this would be a very competitive for the first place of which one is my favorite book. And yeah, this book is amazing, and we get to know more about Gollum and his creepy character. And I recommend this book. So, and it's not that long, but it feels like it's like a million pages because the story is so rich. So, and because this is the second book, I can't spoil anything, but I'm just gonna say it was great, and if you love the first one, definitely continue. Okay, now the third one, The Return of the King. Like a spoiler in the title right there, but this book is amazing. It's like so fast-paced. It's not really fast-paced, it's a very difficult thing to explain, but it's like a constant battle in this book. And it's amazing, and I love the characters. I love Eowyn and her storyline, and Faramir and Gandalf and all that stuff, and I love the lines they say. It's like poetry. So, and why I would recommend not to read this, like, you know, set a bookmark in the middle and read this each and every chapter, is because then you might get spoiled if you haven't seen the movies or read the books before. So then you should really do it as it was intended. But this book is great, and I think this is my second favorite. Is like the first one, this, and then the second one. So yeah, and then the end is very good as well. It's a very good conclusion, and you are very satisfied after this story. And I always describe this series as a large chocolate cake. You can't really eat consume too much of it, because then you will get full and you don't want to read it anymore. So read one chapter at a time, take a breather and think about it, because you will really enjoy these books. And yeah, that was my review of the series and the Silmarillion, and I hope you liked it, and I hope you really want to read the books, because I recommend them to everyone that's like, oh, I like fantasy, and I was like, read The Lord of the Rings, because I love The Lord of the Rings. So, but I don't think they're for everyone, but I at least think everyone should try to read it, because I didn't think it was for me. I loved the movies, but I didn't read the books until I was like 15, I think, or something. And that was really a mistake, because I love the books. So, but I don't think they're for everyone, but just give them a try, because what's the worst that can happen? Yeah.